What's up everybody, this is Jake with VFX To Go, and today we are recreating another classic Star Wars VFX shot. Take a look. Now as you can see, it's not a terribly complicated shot. It's a pretty simple one. In fact, it's at the very end of the Battle of Yavin as the ships are flying home. I thought I'd try this out because we've got all these really cool free models from Sketchfab. I thought I'd just try it out and show you how quickly we can just throw something together. So let's go get into Blender. As you see, I've already brought in my models. I've already got the Millennium Falcon, I've got a Y-Wing and two X-Wings. In the camera window, we can see our camera's position. As you see, I roughly laid out all these ships, but I haven't animated them yet. I just imported everything and kind of dragged them into position. So what we have here is a shot of the 4 remaining ships flying back to their home base. And we're just going to try and recreate that. It's not a lot to it. There's just a little bit of position change and some rotation in a couple of them. But I think we can knock this out pretty quick. So let's get started. I have all the ships parented to one empty, and I'm going to bring that back out of frame first. I'm going to set a keyframe wherever it needs to be. I'm going to drag ahead, and I'm going to use the Y-Wing as our guide to see how far, how quickly it needs to go. So I'm going to say it goes about there. Now I'm not actually going to animate the camera move in Blender. I'm actually going to do the camera move in After Effects when we're done with everything over here. For now, what we're going to focus on is just the position of the ships, and then we're also going to render out another pass with the exhaust from the back, so we can control the lighting and the glow of that on a separate layer. All right. Now, right now, everybody's is pretty rigid. There's no rotation to anybody's ships. They're just all following the Y-Wing as it goes ahead. And if we look carefully, the Millennium Falcon comes in and kind of does a little bit of a swoop as it comes in. So I'm going to keyframe that as well. We're going to take the Falcon, get a little bit of rotation there. Not bad. All right. I like it. We're going to go with this for now, but now we're going to hop over to After Effects really quick because I want to take a look at one of our elements. All right, in After Effects, we're looking at the original shot right here. Again, this is just a reference, and we're just trying to capture the spirit of it. So I've pulled an element from Action VFX of Planet Earth. And it's right now, with this angle and lighting, it's hard to make out specifically that it's Earth, but it matches enough for the planet that we're flying back to. And I just want to look at the lighting of the planet. So first we're gonna put it where it belongs. And lighting wise, we can see the light is coming from the right side, so the sun is off to the right. So now we're gonna go back over to Blender and try to match the lighting. So here's our shot right now, just straight out of the box with no new lighting added to it. You'll see in our world tab, we just have the basic gray. And I'm going to turn that off for now, but we may bring that back in just to fill some of the shadows so we can identify these ships. So let's bring in our sun. Okay. It'll be coming from the right. All right, we've got the sun in place, and I like what it's doing so far. I'm going to turn off the transparency so I can see what this will look like on a black background, so we can see how well we can see these ships as they fly by. So we may need I think we may need a little bit more light from the sun. Let's bring that in a little bit more. And then I'm going to bring in that fill. All right. Only thing I think we're missing right now is that these X-Wings do not have any light coming from the thrusters. So let's see if we can add that. Now again, these are just free models that we got off Sketchfab, so they just kind of come as is. But let's see if we can modify them a little bit to add the light. So I'm going to look inside the thruster here and see how they've built up this file. Okay, so that would be a good place to put it. We're going to create a new material. Right now it's just that, but we're going to make an emission material, thruster. We're going to assign it to that surface. I think it's something sort of a red magenta. Now that we've added the emission shaders to our thrusters, we're going to render this out in two passes. One, we're going to render the ships themselves, and the other pass we're going to render just the thrusters so we can control those in After Effects later. So we're going to render this out, hop over to After Effects, and pick it up from there. All right, we're back from Blender. Everything's rendered out. It's looking pretty good. Let's take a look at the layers we have here. Yeah, I like what I'm seeing here so far. So here we have the thrusters rendered out, so we can have direct control over the brightness and glow of these thrusters. Now you could get into it a lot further if you wanted. You could render out each one of these ships separately, and you could render out multiple passes for various reasons, but just for simplicity's sake, I decided I'm going to render all the thrusters out on one layer so I can control them all at once. So now let's go into our composition. Now our composition right now just has our temporary footage. It's our reference footage from the movie. And I want to actually just replicate the camera move. So first thing I'm going to do, we're going to do a little bit of motion tracking. I'm going to create a null for the shot, and then I'm going to go into my tracker. I'm going to select track motion, and I'm going to go into here, and I'm going to find a point that I want to track. So I'm just going to track any one of these stars ought to be fine. One that's relatively alone. This one we probably won't have any trouble tracking this one, so let's see how that goes. All right, we got a great smooth track there. We're going to apply it to the null, X and Y. So now as we scrub through it, you can see the null moves along, keeps the tilt. First I'm going to turn on our planet. This is Earth, but it's a little hard to tell because you don't really see too much of the continents, and half the planet is dark. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to change the hue of it a little bit so it's a little greener and it feels a little bit more alien, maybe. So, yeah, there we go. Yeah, now it's a totally different planet. All right, now what we're going to do is bring in our star field for the background. Pick whip both the planet and the stars to the null so we can see how that moves together. Moves nice and smooth. I like it. All right. Now we're going to go back to our first frame, and we're going to drop in our layer of the ships first. We're going to pick whip that over to the null as well, so that moves with the camera move. All right, that's looking pretty good. Go back to our first frame. We're going to drop in the thrusters layer so we can add a little bit of glow. Now it's on a black background. I'm going to hit screen. Going to parent that to the null as well. All right, let's add a little bit of a blur. Fast blur. No. Fast blur. And as always, I'm using FX Console from Video Copilot to access my filters and plugins a lot faster. Let's add a little bit of a blur to the thrusters. Oh, that's looking nice. That looks nice. I'm going to play with the levels of the ships a little bit. Maybe a little bit more contrast underneath. Now let's adjust the black levels of the ships just a little bit. All right, now a shot like this is already out the gate. We're looking pretty good. To add a little bit more realism to it, let's add a little bit of noise. First, I'm going to create an adjustment layer on top of everything, so it should affect everything from the top down. Now, when creating visual effects, if you're just doing these shots for fun, you don't necessarily need to take it to this other level. But when you're working in the film environment or TV environment, one of the things you need to do to maintain the continuity of the look is make sure you have matching film grain. That's something that you might not take into account sometimes. When you're compositing shots together, that's a little more important because you want your effects layers to match what you see from the live action plate. But in this case here, here, the whole shot is computer generated, but even though the whole shot is computer generated, there's nothing to match. You want to match other things. So I'm actually just using the original movie as a reference for the grain to match. So the match grain feature in After Effects is pretty great because you can tell it which layer you want to source, and that's what we're doing right here. Let's do a little bit of color matching. Let's pull from the ships. Let's go into the ships layer. There's a little too much red and green, I think, for me, that's hiding inside the Falcon there. Gonna pull some of the green, some of the red. Okay, a little colder. I like it. Okay. Same with the planet. I want to pull I think I'll pull a little bit of saturation out of it, so we don't. Maybe underneath the match grain layer, I'm gonna add just a very, very small amount of blur, because that's something that no matter how sharp a real camera is, even on your widest, you're always going to get a tiny bit of softness from everything you shoot. So that's one of the little extra steps you can take to add that just extra layer of realism to your shots. A very, very tiny layer of blur. That's like, I'm setting my blur radius to 1. And it adds a little bit of blurriness to everything, but again, yeah, that helps kind of tie everything together nicely. So yeah, I'm really happy with how this is all looking. I'm going to go ahead and render this, and we're going to take a look at it in Premiere when we're done. So I'm really happy with how this one turned out. It's a really simple shot, nothing too crazy. It's not a big battle or anything. We'll get to those. But for now, doing shots like this is a really great exercise in practicing your craft and practicing your software and using elements that at your disposal to create something really cool. A lot of fun. Just think about, how can I apply what I've learned doing these exercises towards something original, something that I want to do, or something for a client, for instance. Again, we used free models from Sketchfab. You can find them in the links below. And also we use the stars from the Astra Pack from Big Films, but we also use the planet Earth as our stand-in for our alien planet from Action VFX. You can check out all the links below, find where you can find all the elements there. If you like what we did here, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications so you know when our next video comes out. And if there's a shot that you want me to recreate, please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to give it a try and see what we can do. You can find us on the socials, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, at VFX2Go, and our website, vfx2go.com. Until next time, I've been Jake, and I'll see you later.